Marvel, DC. When you think of these people, you think of the heroes that you know and love, but in this week's fucking challenge, we had to combine any two heroes with each other from the two different genres. So that could have meant you want to put a villain with a hero, you want to put a hero with a hero, but it had to be one from DC and one from Marvel. You could put a villain with a villain. It didn't really matter. But that, if you like me, you don't know what to do at that point unless you're dealing with something specific. So I struggled for a fucking long time until eventually stopped thinking about all of the dudes and thought about more of the women. Now, when it comes to the women of Marvel and DC, I have fan favorites, of which I am, but I think I needed to be a bit more creative in my thinking, if that's a sentence. And I realized that I could combine Raven with Scarlet Witch because it just made sense. And that brings us to the drawing. Don't hate me for not using line work and framework, okay? That's the way I draw. I stopped with the head and then I do the eyes because that's what I focused on most of the time. Now, a lot of focus went into this one and a lot of thought. I wasn't really sure where I was going to go with it, but I knew that it had to be something different than what would have been expected, because I wanted to make something new. Because normally when you combine two things, you just think of the two things combined, but you don't really think of them fused into one new thing. Like how Goku and Vegeta make Vegito. They're not really just two of the same person, they are one person. And I struggled with that for a while. And even during the drawing phase, I didn't really know where I was going. Luckily, I managed to find a reference as far as a pose goes. And let me tell you, that one was voluptuous. However, I pressed on. I don't really draw women that often. Not sure why, but I just don't. However, I kinda wanted to make a statement with this one that I was capable of doing and capturing the curves. Especially those curves. I thought about going all the way down and maybe extending the page so that I could work in the heels as well, but I think I was kinda happy with the way it ended up, with the drawing cut just above the ankles, because I wanted it to focus more on the character itself. Don't even ask me what happened with that hand. What? I started over. What the fuck? 2 seasons of Attack on Titan later, the sun is set. And yes, I am the dude that goes over the same line every single time until I get it right. So, shut up. It's my drawing process. I'll get better or worse. I don't know. We'll see. I really wanted to get the frame and anatomy properly in perspective, and you can see I went back to the ice, throw them again because I struggled with those, and I worked my way back down the drawing, just fidgeting and messing with every single curve until I was happy with it. Which I know you're supposed to do after you do the rough work, but I'm still doing rough work until it's polished. Because I'm an idiot. I know that I wanted her look to be kind of ethereal, maybe even cosmic, taking into account that like Raven has the whole demon thing going for her with the demon dad, and Scarlet Witch's whole cosmic evolution as well. So I thought maybe I wanted her to have like this floating hair. Not that it's floating, but maybe I thought that it would be more dynamic just for the pose. So when I got to the costume, I was thinking about the section around her neck and chest area and the back, and I was thinking about those feathered scarves that people wear, and I kept thinking about a bird, and maybe just like it felt feminine and strong, and I just went with it just to see how it looked, and it seemed pretty okay, but I think it needed a bit more bulk to it. Also, like, it's a very nude kind of costume, so I felt like it needed like something to fluff it up. Also, this is a leotard, and yes, the back section is squeezed between her cheeks, but I wasn't happy with the cheeks as they were, so I work on those at a later point in time. But look, she wears a leotard, Scarlet Witch wears a leotard, Raven wears a leotard, and they're all pretty much high up on the waistline, so don't tell me I'm a perv. Screw you. Here's the proof. Thank you. Moving on. When I started on her legs, I didn't know where I was going with the line work, but I was just trying to find form around what the shapes were, and I kept thinking about the shape of a bird's eye and how that line works in with the head and the curve of the beak, and maybe I tried to incorporate something there, and it didn't really work out for me the way I wanted it to, even though I tried it a bunch of different ways. So I moved up to the arms. A shape kind of just emerged from what I wanted it to be, where it kind of works a way around her biceps, and then I liked that so much that I used it on the legs as well, but in their own way. The lower legs are the calves. I was thinking about the background, and every time I closed my eyes to picture the entire image as a whole, I kept thinking about cosmic clouds, her being surrounded by cosmic clouds. So I ended up drawing in these just like freestyle clouds, and I just wanted them to go along with the shape. Time passed much quicker, the sun completely set, and I was drawing in the dark in the middle of the night, which explains the bad lighting. But I thought maybe there was something that could be salvaged from this. I also fluffed up the little feathered scarf section.
One eternity
And lots of praying to the ass gods.
later.
I eventually came up with a textured leather look for the costume, worked out the section of the legs that I was having trouble with, and I really liked the shape that came out of there. I also surrounded her hands with like lightning, because Raven has the black lightning and Scarlet Witch always manifests lightning, electricity whenever she uses her abilities, so I figured that would just work well. I think I really nailed that little section. When I went in for the fine liner work to isolate the entire shape, I really wanted to have some clean line work left behind, something that I could use to build a lot of color on. And I really wanted to isolate the lines from each other so that I could have more delicate curves in contrast to the more erratic, jagged lines of the lightning. I also worked in these light bands or halos that are around, encircling each of her limbs, and the same bands are being used as earrings, and I figured that would just look quite cool in color. So at the end of it all, I got this, and then I cleaned it up quite nicely, put it into Illustrator and sectioned off the line work so that I could have a flat base to work on for the color, and ended up with a linear mask that I like a lot. So that's going to be it for part 1 of this drawing. I'm probably going to do a part 2. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do a part 2 because I want to get better at coloring. So I'll make another weird trip through my brain when I struggle with that next time. So if you are watching, hope to see you there as well.